Hello, Stella Middle Charter Academy families. This is Ms. Han, your principal, and I'm here to share with you about the COVID safety protocols for this year, as well as Independent Study. We are so excited to welcome you back to this school year. I want to share this information with you, and we will be following this up with a town hall on Monday afternoon at 4 p.m. for any questions. First of all, COVID safety. We know that families are concerned about the COVID-19 virus and its variants, and so we have established some safety procedures at Stella Middle for its students and its staff. And with these procedures in place, we strongly recommend that all students who are able come to campus in person. So our model of COVID defense, the Swiss cheese model, meaning although any one layer is not perfect, with many layers of different types of layers and barriers to infection, this is our mode of defense. And so we have physical distancing, face masks, hygiene, ventilation, contact tracing, disinfection, and screening. All of these methods we are using on campus to help keep students and staff safe. What does that look like on our campus? First of all, masks will be required on campus at all times, students and staff, whether they're indoors or outdoors, except when they're eating. And so students will only be allowed to eat outside because they will have to take their masks off to eat, so they will be doing that outside. And masks will be worn at all times, including physical education classes. Hand washing and hygiene, all staff and students will be encouraged to wash their hands with soap frequently throughout the day, and hand sanitizers will be made available across the campus and in every classroom. Ventilation, we have installed new air purifiers in each classroom and advanced air filters in each building. Student groupings and contact tracing. This is important. Students are going to remain in the same class, meaning with the same group of students every day, and even in their smaller groups, they're going to be remaining with the same small group or pods throughout the day, even if they go from class to class, in order to limit the number of different people they come in contact with, so they're not mixing between grade levels or mixing between classes. Close contact, the CDC defines a close contact as being within 6 feet of someone for more than 15 minutes in a 24-hour period. So we want to limit the number of people that your student comes in close contact with. So when teachers seat students and create their seating charts, they're going to seat them according to their pod or their close contact group in each class. And then keep them in their same pods throughout the day. If a student or staff does get sick with COVID, they must report this to the school immediately. We will keep confidential who that person is who got sick, but we will send a letter to all families in the school to let you know that there has been somebody at the school who was infected. And if your child has been in close contact because they're in that small pod or same group with that student or staff who was sick, you will get a second letter or phone call to let you know that your child was in close contact. Cleaning, disinfecting. Our custodians are equipped with very heavy-duty electrostatic sprayers, and they're going to be sanitizing all classrooms every morning before the first period and again midday during lunch, as well as after school. At the start of each class, students will be given a disinfecting wipe to sanitize their own desk. And high contact surface areas like doors will be sanitized every hour. We also will conduct daily screening of all people that enter the campus. Every day, staff and students will be screened at the school entrance with questions about possible symptoms. And we are closing the campus to all visitors. So visitors will not be allowed onto campus to limit the contact of different people on campus. We will also have weekly testing. All staff will be required to undergo COVID testing every week, and students, if parents would like, can also opt into this testing and are encouraged to do so. Vaccinations is a huge barrier, and all staff have been given access to COVID vaccinations and have been highly encouraged to get the vaccines. And students and families are also encouraged to get vaccinated against COVID to protect yourself and your families. Some Bright Star protocols around COVID. Reporting of positive cases. It is very, very important that all staff and all students and families alert the school immediately if you have a positive case of COVID. We will keep your identity confidential, but for the sake of the safety of the entire community, a general exposure letter will be sent to all families to let you know there was a case in our school community, and a second letter or a phone call will be going out to any people who have been deemed in close contact with that person, meaning they have been within 6 feet of that person for more than 15 minutes during a 24-hour period. Now, if your student or staff member tests positive for COVID, this person must quarantine at home for at least 10 days. And on top of that, for them to come back, 24 hours must pass with no fever, and all the symptoms must have been improved. If students are quarantined for that time, they will automatically be moved to our independent study program so that they can get some learning as they can during that time, and then be transferred back when they come back. Now, if a staff or student doesn't test positive but is deemed in close contact, so somebody else tested positive and you were in close contact with them, then there's two scenarios. If you are fully vaccinated, if that child is fully vaccinated and has no symptoms and asymptomatic, then they're going to be required to have a COVID test. And as long as the COVID test is negative, they're free to return to school. No quarantine is required. If they are not vaccinated, then they do need to test and quarantine for at least 10 days. If on the 6th day of exposure, they get a test and it comes back negative, then they could actually come back on the 7th day. So who should come back to school in person? We highly encourage families to consider sending all of their students in person for the best academic and social emotional learning experience if possible. And what are some of the benefits? Firstly is human connection. Students are excited to be with their friends and make new friends. This is a really important part of middle school that students are missing. Students are excited for hands-on projects. By being on campus, they can participate in circle and council and other community building activities like our Compass program. And we really want all our students to feel connected to their teachers and to their peers. Direct support. Teachers and counselors and instructional assistants are ready and able to provide in-person direct support to students on campus. On campus, we will have a daily foundations block where they get iReady, which is a reading and math intervention program online. They will have a club time weekly because we know that students really miss this, being at home and enjoy this. And so we're doing clubs weekly and students will be able to choose their club. We will have Compass circles every week for students to connect with their peers, and we will continue our monthly celebrations. In-person tutoring and small group instruction can also happen in person. And we just know that during the distance learning and the pandemic, there were some challenges for students, like being stuck at home, having limited physical activity, having some distractions to the learning environment when they were at home, and just being able to maintain friendships and social skills. And so for all these reasons, we highly encourage you to send your student in person on the 23rd of August. But we're gonna now talk a little bit about our independent study program, which we are offering to families at Stella Middle and all of Bright Star schools. Who is this program for? So even though we strongly recommend all families to attend in person if they are able to, we do understand that there are a few families that will need alternate learning arrangements. For example, a student may have a family member at home who is immunocompromised, and they may need to stay at home in order to ensure that that immunocompromised family member is not coming into close contact with too many people. And so that will be a case in which you might want to sign your student up for independent study. I just want to be clear that independent study is an independent learning pathway. So it's best suited for students who don't need that much extra support or motivation or monitoring, and they're able to learn and complete assignments independently. Also, this is not the same as distance learning last year. It's actually quite different from last year's distance learning where all students were at home. So in independent studies, students will have way less interaction and direct support from teachers compared to distance learning last year. We do know that each family situation is different, and so ultimately the choice is yours on what you want to do for what you want to select for your child. However, we do strongly recommend that students come back in person to school if at all possible. What is independent study going to look like? We are following the California laws, which were recently revised this summer, and that is specific for middle schools. So independent study differs for elementary, middle, and high. For middle schools, students in our school in independent study will have the following. They'll have 1 day a week on Mondays where they have synchronous learning with a teacher via Zoom. And so students will have a SMCA issued Chromebook at home. They will log into Zoom, and the Zoom will then give them a window into what's happening in the classroom with the students in person. So they will be able to watch the teacher instructing the in-person class. They will have some limited opportunities to interact with the teacher throughout this class on Monday. For example, they might be able to ask a question through the chat box or get feedback on an assignment that they're doing electronically. So that's once a week on Mondays. And then the rest of the week, they will have daily asynchronous assignments posted on Google Classroom. That means there'll be an assignment posted every day that students on their own time need to complete on their own. We also will have a daily check-in for students available with a staff member, likely an instructional assistant, who will be available every morning at 7:30 via Zoom to have just a touch point, a check-in to make sure they're doing okay and see if there's anything that they need. Attendance is going to be very specific for independent study. A completion of all independent assignments are required for attendance. So unlike in regular in-person school or even in distance learning last year, they just had to show up to get attendance counted. But in independent study, it's not counted by showing up, it's counted by completing your assignments. So a missing assignment on a day equals an absence. And so by turning in your assignment, that is how you're getting attendance. Now, what if you are not ready for this right now, but later in the year, you feel that your family does need independent study? Can you transfer into it? The answer is yes. You can request for your child to be moved from in-person to independent study during the year as long as there's space available. And the opposite direction, if your student is in independent study, you can request for your student to return to in-person learning, but it will be a 5-day waiting period in between. But please note that going back and forth, transitioning between programs is going to be really difficult for children's learning. So we highly encourage you to consider what is best and make that decision, and especially to consider sending them in person for the best academic and social emotional experience. How do you enroll? If you do after this presentation and after asking any questions you might have, if you would like to enroll your child, we will be sending you at this town hall and in Parent Square afterwards a Google form, an enrollment form through Google. We do have limited availability for independent study, and so if there's not space for everyone, we will prioritize families who have the most urgent health needs. In order to sign your student up for independent study for the start of this school year, the forms must be submitted by no later than Friday, August 20th. The sooner the better though, so we can be prepared for your child. If you have any further questions, please come to our town hall Q&A session on Monday at 4 p.m. on Zoom. From 4 to 4:15, we're going to play this video again, just for those who didn't have a chance to watch the video. And then starting at 4:15, we're going to open it up for questions. And so we know that this school year will have its challenges as we continue to navigate this COVID pandemic. But we know that together with our Stella teachers and staff and students and families, we're going to be able to make this year great. So thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.